Hi everyone, I wanted to show you what I do when I clean out the baby snails, and also I'm checking on them. They've been in this tub for 2 weeks and I'm just checking how they're doing, and also I needed to freshen up the food. I leave the food for probably about 3 days, and then if it starts to look a bit odd I will get rid of it. And I just wanted to give these a freshen up, so that's what I'm doing here. So first of all, what I'm doing is, as I remove each salad leaf, is just checking for snails. That's a piece of calcium block that he's got a couple of snails on. And the reason you want to check every leaf and everything you take out the tank is because they're very easy to miss. This one unfortunately was an empty shell, so that's one that didn't work. Basically what happened is the snail hatched and then didn't progress from there. As you can see, I have got some healthy ones, and I'll show you them up close in a little bit. So what I'm doing here is very gently going through the salad leaves, making sure there's no one hiding in there, and also I'm having a little look, see what they've been eating, to get a rough idea of what they like, and yeah, just giving them a check up. And obviously you don't want to miss anybody and accidentally throw them away, so it's important to check every single little thing that you move. As you can see, I found one right in the middle of the sphagnum moss. And as you can see there was one on that leaf. If they're on a leaf or something, then just lift them off attached to that leaf. If they're on the dirt, what I do is I use a very small spoon, just a little teaspoon. This one was stuck on the calcium block, and I use the teaspoon just to very gently lift them out, and I've managed to do it a few times without crushing them or anything if I've had to move them to replace food and stuff. But I did need to give this tank a really good clean out, not like completely remove all the bedding or anything, but they just needed a little bit more dirt putting in, because I only put a tiny little bit in because they were very small. Also taking out anyone who has not survived, so there were 3 in the end that didn't survive growing for the 2 weeks. It happens, there is going to be a certain mortality rate to them, which is fine. That's why normally you'd keep like a lot more than I have, but this is just a little experiment for me to A, get some more little baby snails, and also B, just to see how easy it is to grow them from eggs and to rear them from hatchlings. And yeah, so, and also I wanted to know how many I'd got. When I lifted up the sphagnum moss, I had one more, and all I'm doing is very gently going through. Obviously I've sped up the footage, so I did do it gentler than that, and then once I'd gone through all the soil, I just put the soil back down and patted it back into place and checked the sphagnum moss to see if there was anyone in there. And then it was time to have a look at these snails. Okay, so by looking at the snails so far, they are 2 weeks old now, and this is how big they are compared to my finger. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 little giant African land snails, and they're very tiny. This is a calcium biscuit I made, and you can see there's one on there. That's one of the smaller ones that hatched at a later date, and the calcium block has gone all sticky and weird. There's one there that's just coming out of his shell. He's just gone back in because I freaked him out. I'm trying to see who the biggest one is. I'd say the biggest one is this one. This is the biggest one. This was the first one that hatched, I believe. If I look compared to the other one. Yeah, these were like the first 2 that hatched. So they're getting on they're doing quite well, getting quite big compared to how they were, because they were very, very tiny to start off with. So I'm quite pleased with these little guys. I'm trying them with a wide variety of foods at the moment because I don't know what they're like. I have found them nibbling a bit of, what's it called? It says on the packet somewhere. I don't know if it's lamb's lettuce. Don't know, whatever this round one is. It's either, it says frizzy, lamb's lettuce and radicchio. And that's what I've been putting in. And I've seen they've been eating this one, so I know they like it. And they're doing very well. They're quite happy. And what I'm doing is putting some food in, keeping an eye on them, making sure their enclosure stays damp but not too wet, and making sure they've got a wide variety of foods. And I'm also sprinkling on some calcium powder on their food, not on every single little bit of food, but on quite a bit of it, because their calcium requirements right now are very high, because obviously they're developing their baby shells. You can see these two are just coming out now. There you go, you can see them moving. They're doing very well. I'm keeping them at a nice steady temperature. I tend to keep them around 20 to 25 degrees. I try and keep it fairly stable around sort of 20, 22, and they seem quite happy in that temperature. That's the temperature I keep the adults at. I do keep an eye on them, and if I think that they might be slowing down, if it's a bit chilly or anything, I will up the temperature, but the room normally hovers around 22 anyway, because I have the heating on. So I don't have a heat mat in for these guys or anything, because their container's too small. And what I'm doing instead is I keep the room warm, which is what I do for all the snails anyway. I just have a heat mat as a backup in case the heating fails or anything. But because I can keep the room consistency at the right temperature that they need, I just leave them to it at the temperature they need. There's these two are having a little wander around. They're doing very, very well. They're growing nicely. They're eating well. I'm going to try them today with some snail mix, as well as their usual leafy greens, and see how they get on with that. Let's see if I can move in a bit closer so you can see. Can you see his little face in there? That's not small. And what I do is, ideally, if you need to move them, you want to pick up the piece of food that they're on, because then you don't risk squishing them or anything. She says nearly squishing one because her finger slipped. So if you get them on a leaf or something like this, it's easier to pick them off that way. As you can see, there's a little bit of calcium on here. And I found signs on the vegetables that they've been pooping and stuff, so I'm quite happy they're fine. You can see him turn his shell around. So yeah, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What I do is, if they're on a leaf, I can pick them up on the leaf and put that in. I could do you getting off this leaf though, mate, because I need to change it. So I just very gently scoop with a spoon, place them on a new one. And I've found just using a little teaspoon, preferably a plastic one would be better, but this is all I've got. And you just scoop them very gently onto the spoon, and then you can pop them, hopefully not upside down, back into their tank. It's a bit awkward. There we go, he's the right way around finally. So there's 2 of them. As you can see, one crawling. Can you see him? So cute. He'll probably head to the cuttlefish, no doubt. I've got another one here. He's busy crawling on something, so he can go there. So that's 3. There's number 4. I put 4 back on a calcium source, being as that's where I found number 4. Number 5. 6. Number 7. Number 8. Come on, 8. It'll be right there. And number 9. Number 9. There you go. They're all safe back in their tank. And they'll all have a little wander and explore the new food and see what they can find. What I will do is take a tiny bit of calcium powder. I'm not too worried about them calcium wise because of the cuttlefish, but just on the odd little bit of their food I'll put some, just so they've got access to it if they want it on the food, because they're used to the calcium powder. So I've just sprinkled a little bit on, but their main source of calcium is obviously going to be the cuttlefish if they take to it. This is just backup. And what I'll do tomorrow is I'll change for fresh leaves without some calcium powder on, so I can make sure I don't overdose them on it. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take my teaspoon and I'm going to take a little, very tiny teaspoon, like quarter teaspoon of my snail mix that I make. I put some water on it. I'm just going to smush that off a bit more if I can, then mix it in. I'm going to take out some of the big bits because they're not going to eat them. And I'm going to pop that just on this piece of cuttlefish here. Just a little bit, like so. Because I'm testing out whether they like it or not. Seeing what they think. And I'll put a little bit more on like that. There you go, that should sort them. So there you go, that's how I clean them and put their food in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.